It's cold in here. I mean, we dress like it's cold because it's cold. I mean, it may look, like a warm and welcoming place, but this is the garage and it's finished, but like I have no insulation in the ceiling and I can't do that because then I can't store anything up there.
Well, we have another shed to build.
I know. I always wonder why there isn't like an insulating layer you can put on the inside of the roof of a garage. Just insulate it on this side rather than the other side. And then make it better. Because everything else is all insulated. We've winterized doors and everything. It's not bad in here. If you crank the little space heater.
You don't even have it on.
No, it's because I accidentally unplugged it.
Okay.
I didn't mean to. I could have it on. Let's see, is it even plugging in? Oh, yes it is. Excellent. Okay. In any case, it's Friday.
Yes.
Cold one. Chilly willy. I don't want to complain too much about the weather. But,
That's all you do.
I know, it's true. Okay, we're going to do wrist check now. Sabrina's going to go first.
It's one of those rare times that we're doing wrist check before we even do the video.
It's true. Urema. Why don't you stand over here? Value 23. Value 20. It's why I get, but the problem is I'm vaguely dyslexic in a monk, and I run everything in my memory, and I can't remember, but this is almost the same exact movement as a Paul Newman. It's a beautiful watch. This was serviced by a Rolex tech who lives in Texas, and it's just, what an elegant, classy watch. It's got some dial damage. It's in one of those dust-proof cases. I wish it was in a standard chrono case. Someday I'll find one. If anybody knows of like a generic or a regular chrono case I could drop this into, let me know, because I'd love to do that.
But I like the way it looks.
Okay, well then that's fine. And I'm wearing Senora Panda. Still hard to believe that's an original dial and handset and everything, and it's original to the watch. Yep. In terms of dial and hands, I think I've owned one, maybe two that were as good as this. You just don't see it very often. Wasn't that fun?
We did it first, as I said.
Yep, I know. We actually got it done. So Friday, and it's time for some questions.
Honda Doug 61. Why are you guys dressed like freezing peasants? Does the furnace not work? Sell a couple of watches and apply for assistance. We're in the garage.
We're in the garage. I mean, my dream was as just ridiculous as first worldy as it's possible. I wanted to have fully air-conditioned, heated, cooled garage. So,
we could have had insulation, but you have too much crap up there.
Well, if I just move everything around, but then we build the other shed, and then we can put that, a lot of the junk that's in there outside, I guess, And then, because then if that was done, this garage would really, truly be nice. Of course, we have to do something with the floor.
Well, we were talking about that forever ago.
Yeah, we were talking about painting it. But
no, there's like tiles.
Oh, are they like really thin tiles or something?
So, I don't know.
I don't know.
Rich people have, heated, comfy garages. Maybe there's some way for normal people to do it.
I don't know. I still am thinking about heavy duty, like institutional grade linoleum. I mean, that's what Titanic and Olympic and Britannic had. They did. You see pictures of the grand staircase, right? In Titanic and stuff, and it has this like white floor with like black squarish patterns on it. I always thought that was carpet. No. It was this wonderful modern product called linoleum.
You guys have no idea how many times a day I hear about the Titanic.
I mean, the thing is that I have, I'm on the spectrum just a bit, and when I was a kid, I was nuts about the Titanic and stuff. And of course, when it was found in the 80s, it was astonishing. It was an astonishing find. And you're going through National Geographic, not looking for pictures of ladies in foreign countries, not wearing a lot, but looking for pictures of the Titanic. I was nuts about it. But then over the course of my adulthood, I kind of softened up and eased up on the whole Titanicness. Now, our son, who is very like me, is insane for the Titanic and sunken ships and everything. And he actually kind of has gotten me back into it.
Which is fine. It's just us females are like, stop. We don't care.
It's crazy though. I mean, because Sebastian, like me, he's autistic. So it's this, he has this thing. He's so focused on the Titanic. It's all he can talk about. But his ADHD is so bad, he can't sit down for a new video done by Mike Brady where he is going and looking at the wreck with all the new sonar LIDAR mapping data that just came out. If you go to Ocean Liner Designs, okay, he has a brand new video. There's this company called Magellan, and they did a really high resolution scan of the entire wreck site, everything. And they put out basically a searchable thing. It's only 10% of the data, and right now it's only the front section, the bow of the ship. But you can really see it. And it's all super preliminary, but they're eventually going to release this game where you can basically fly around the front and the rear of the wreck. I was wrapped. I couldn't stop watching it. It was like an hour and a half, and he's like just flying his little virtual.
Sebastian couldn't deal with it.
Sebastian couldn't take it at all. And I'm like, there it is, the Titanic. It's crazy. You can see the damage that was caused when the front end was coming down because the mast got folded back against the edge of the bridge and just smashed everything
You're
flat.
hitting me in the head.
It's wild. It's in such bad condition. But anyway, Ocean Liner Designs, Mike Brady, and it's not his most recent video, which is about Titanic deck plans, which I also found absolutely just fascinating. But it's the next one that he did a couple 3 days ago.
Well, Sebastian talks about it all the time in school, and last year he got into a debate with some girls about he was like, the Titanic's more popular than Taylor Swift, and they were like, no. So now he hates T Switty, thinks she's the worst thing ever, and the Titanic's more popular.
Yeah. Well, the poor Titanic. Gotta love the Titanic.
Yeah, and he'll point at a globe where it is in the ocean, and yeah.
I don't know. It's just a thing. But anyway, he's gotten me back into it, so I'm thinking about it. I read a thing. I just read a book. Gave him a Titanic Olympic Britannic book for Christmas, and I just read a thing that when Olympic was going to be scrapped in the 1930s, White Star went through and they basically did an evaluation of the ship. Hey, how's this thing looking? And they said it's in A1 condition. A1 condition. One of the former first officers, called it the finest ship ever built or ever will be built. Olympic, this is.
Yes, you told me.
Olympic.
Already.
Okay, let's do this thing.
We were talking so much my phone went off.
Oh.
Midden Y6L. Hi, Spencer and Sabrina. Been a loyal Australian viewer since the start and love your videos. Well, thank you.
I was trying to think of an upside down joke and I couldn't, but I made myself laugh anyway.
Seiko fan since the 80s. Can you tell us when or if Seiko started to add jewels to vulnerable areas in their basic movements, such as the 7 series? I'm thinking of areas that often wear out in the earlier movements, like the 6309, the mainspring, arbor port, etc.
Actually, the having bushings instead of jewels is kind of an exception for Seiko. 6105, 6106, 6309 are those 3 examples, and we talk about those a lot because those movements are in a lot of the watches that we wear and collect, and those had bushings in the train bridge for the upper for the upper third wheel and fourth wheel versus typically Seiko jeweled everything. Like I'm trying to think of an example where that's not the case. Like the 7S series, it's fully jeweled. The predecessor 700X, 7005, 7006, 7009, 7019, 21, they're all fully jeweled. 6200 series is, I believe 6200 series is also fully jeweled. Gosh, I'm gonna have to go pull a movement. I don't really remember. I should remember off the top of my head. It's the exception rather than the rule. And it's one of the more annoying things about dealing with those movements because they're the most popular. And that, you don't want to minimize wear, but swapping in jewels is possible, but you have to get them from somewhere, and it's just, I don't know, it's a lot of work. But for a watch that's really interesting or one that you really dig, it's a possibility, but I don't know. That's about it.
Neil Sengupta 662. Hi SNS. Happy New Year to you and your family.
And same to you.
I seem to have collected a lot more old quartz Seiko lately and was wondering if you verbalize the difference between a 7A and Annie digi, such as the H558 and baby Arnie. Loving your videos as always. So calming. May the force be with you.
Well, calming. All right, that's good. That's nice.
Yes.
It's a nice thing to say. I mean, the biggest difference between an H558 is a hybrid movement, which everybody knows. The 7A28, 7A38, 7A48s are analog with no LCD on it. So those are a very, the main differences. But in terms of their basic tech, they're actually kind of the same. You have an all metal train with a combination of bushings and jewels that is held by, it's either called a spacer block, that's what's called in the H558, or you have it's the same basic thing, it's sort of the green round deal in the back of a 7A. They're both fly-by-wire, they both run on the same quartz technology. I mean, they're in terms of their actual analog timekeeping, I'd say that they're all pretty comparable. They really are. Where the 7A, of course, excels is the fact that it's got 4 separate trains, 15 jewels. I mean, I once had this notion about fully jeweling a 7A movement, like going through it and doing every single thing with a jewel. I don't even know how many jewels that would be. I think it's not an impossible task, but I realized thinking more carefully about it later on that probably wasn't a thing I was going to try to do. They run so beautifully on their own and they're already so overpowered, and both watches have the same weaknesses. They are mostly destroyed by battery leaks or water leaks. Those are your choices, and neither movement takes real well to battery electrolytes or water inside. They degrade badly, so it's super important with both to keep those insides nice and dry with the virtue of a fresh case rebuild and new seals, just like my watch just got.
Joshua Briggs 7114. Spencer, any thoughts on the modern SLA051 reinterpretation of the 6105 8L35 movement and 20 millimeter lug width?
I like the way it looks for the most part. I don't like the green loom, and the marker tops are slightly rounded. Those are both things that I have a personal, I don't know, there are two things that bug me, mostly because I love the originals, how they looked. It was like this salt white loom with no green in it at all, and the marker tops were absolutely flat with just razor sharp edges. And I love that, but those two things, the salt white loom and the flat top markers, and I just love the way they look. So whenever I would look at one of the new interpretations, it would be, I'd always be like, and it's just something that I notice. When you start noticing something, it's hard to not notice it. So I don't know. The thing is, though, I haven't actually seen one in a long time. So I don't know. Maybe one will fall out of a bird's nest, and I'll get a chance to look at one. Maybe.
Mainspring Madness, putting a Swiss mainspring in a Seiko. Blair Watch Project. Hey Spencer, I just serviced a 6309 7040 and replaced the mainspring with the stronger GR2537X. Numbers were as follows. Full wind amplitude, 300 degrees, right? Is that what DEG is?
Yep.
Okay. Power reserve, 39 hours. I'd be interested to hear what you managed on the power reserve. Those are good values, but the reserve is a few hours less than original. I assume that is expected from a thicker and shorter mainspring.
Where I put your comment in for a few reasons. One, it's always nice to hear from you. Two, I forgot I have half the data. I know when my 6105 stopped. I don't remember when I started it. I didn't date that. I didn't keep a record of it. So I'm only going to guess. It never ran out of power reserve the whole time I was wearing it. I mean, that's not unusual. Seikos don't. They have good power reserve, and it would be, something would have to be seriously wrong for the watch to have stopped running. My assumption is I probably got in the 40 range, I'm guessing. A Seiko normally is going to give 45, 46 hours, right? and that's going to be pretty normal for them. I need to just power it up and try again. But I put your comment in specifically so we do have some numbers to give us an idea of what we're talking about. Amplitude of 300 on that thing. Dude, you should, next time we do this, we'll do a super build with a 6349 fully jeweled movement and put in the new mainspring as well as a hacking lever and all that stuff. That'll be my next build. I could actually do that. I have all the parts to build. I could do it. I have all the parts to build a 6309 7040 Super with a 6349 with a hacking kit installed, upgraded upper and lower mainspring arbor jewels. But I have to get the mainspring, but I think that's the next thing to do.
Hoyer calculator watch, True Blue Miata. Hello all, regarding case repair, look up the Lapinist. He works magic on damaged cases. Look up the Fratello article, The Unbelievable Restoration of Vintage Seiko and Grand Seiko by the Lapinist.
Yeah, the Lapinist, there was another guy I talked to, and he doesn't have the time to help me. Does anyone have a closer contact for the Lapinist? I've seen a lot of pictures of the Lapinist's work, and it looks magnificent, absolutely magnificent. My assumption out of hand is that they're booked for the next year, and the parts to redo that Hoyer are arriving today from France. They're coming today, and so I want to, I'll do what I can. I guess I'm going to have to break out some my Dremel bits and try to clear out some of that metal where it got smashed over. I can screw the case back on, but boy, I really want to get that case remanufactured if possible.
For sale, Super Seiko 6217 8162 MAS. Michael Williams, if you've changed the movement, hasn't it now become a Franken watch? I'm not being nasty, just puzzled. I don't think you're being nasty. I wonder that all the time.
Sure, absolutely. Just that thing by itself, the fact that the movement has been changed, yes, it makes it a Franken. But that watch also came with its original movement. So the mod could be reversed. You just service the original movement, put that in, boom, you've got the original watch again. The only thing not original to the watch then would be the bezel insert. And that, I discussed in the video, but it's still there. I don't know. I love having stealth builds. I love having upgraded movements, and the watch looks dead stock, and it's got this beautiful upgraded movement inside. But it's still original, it has its movement, and the change can be reversed. So it's a good question, and it wasn't a nasty question at all.
KBW's which watch won the Rolex 000? Philip Wood, 1736. Nice review of a much underappreciated watch. I understand that the white gold glossy black dials were first introduced on the 16... What do I call it?
Call what?
There's no 000. Now there's 2 zeros.
So just say 16800.
Okay.
I mean, you can say 168,000 or 168,000.
I want to sound smart.
Well, honey, you know the difference between a 16800 and a 168,000.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's so laborious to say, and watch guys make short things for other things.
Just call it the 000.
But there's only 2 zeros.
No, well, he's talking about the previous.
Right, and I was asking you.
I know. I thought we were on the same page about this. He's talking about the previous one, I believe, unless it's a typo.
No, it's not.
Then we're on the same page. Aren't we on the same page?
He doesn't understand me.
I don't understand.
Anyway, we're first introduced on the 16800 and 5513, an example of which I have previously owned from 1984, references back in around 1984. As you state, your reference was somewhat of a test bed for the introduction of 904L steel and the transition to the replacement model reference 16610. The 16610 had the same configuration with the exception of the movement, which was upgraded to the 3135. I once met a former Royal Navy medical, I once met a former Royal Navy medical officer who had been gifted a 000 by a grateful diver who he saved from a severe episode of the bends.
Wow.
His watch had just returned from the RSC, where many parts had unfortunately been replaced. Nice example, and thanks for taking the time to share your review. All the best to you and your family for 2025.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think it's a special model. I mean, my interest was really piqued when I read some random article. I owned a 16610. That was the first one that I owned. I bought that after restoring my great uncle's 1016 Explorer, and I started getting interested in Rolexes, and I got a modern sub, a 16610, and it was very nice. Glowed like a maniac. Do you want me to go get you an electric blanket?
What do you think I have on me?
Oh, you could wear it like a blanket.
I am wearing it
around your thing, like this.
My thing.
You're like a shawl. And then, but I don't know. It looked modern for me. I would have really loved to have gotten like, a 1680, not even a red one, just actually an all white text run 680 with the matte dial, 16800. But I somehow I got onto an article about the 000s and talking about how much of a sleeper they were because they were such a short run, and they have a rareness factor and a weirdness factor and a uniqueness factor, and the fact that they've got the Mark 1 and the Mark 2 dials, they've got sort of special stuff, and so the person was like, these are an unappreciated thing and they're worth investing in, and they're not worth as much as they should be. So I went out and found the best one I could. I followed their instructions. I found one in the best possible condition with all the extras, all the extra stuff. And unbeknownst to me, dumb luck, I happened to pick one with a Mark II Z dial. So, dumb luck.
KVW's overdue review, Seiko 7828 7040 JDM speed timer. Tim K. Rengesser 1561. How rebuildable and reliable are these given they have 15 joules versus the later stuff? My 7T32 Chrono died, and then another I bought to fix died too. These 7828s are perfect looking, but not inexpensive, so I'd like to buy, but only if they're longer for the world, so to speak, than the later movements.
The modern Seiko movements, the 7Ts and stuff like that, they're mostly plastic movements, because a quartz movement gear train doesn't need to be stressed. It isn't stressed. It's just you have the stepper mode. It goes tick, 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 and it runs that little impulse through the gear train. Versus in a mechanical watch where you have the mainspring barrel is turning and it's always pushing, always pushing. So you don't really need to have really a whole lot of friction reduction and wear reduction stuff like jewels. The 7828s, 7838s, 7848s are just hilariously over-engineered and overbuilt. They basically don't, there isn't a single moving piece of plastic in the entire watch. It's all metal, and mostly jeweled. I've never seen a wheel or any other part of a 7A28 wear out from time running. Never. Anytime I've ever seen a damaged 7A, it's because water got in or the battery leaked, period. That's it. Left to their own devices and sealed up properly, I have no doubt that they would run forever. I mean, eventually some of the lubricants are going to dry up and you're going to start getting the chrono hands hanging up here and there, but wear out, you'll never see it.
KVW is looking at new old watches. DR Tixon. That last watch just made me smile and hit my heart. I like your speculation on how it could be a user's everyday watch who wore it every day for many years. I can relate since my 6139 6005 is turning 50 this year, December, and next year it will be 50 years since I put that Seiko on. I love my Seiko as much as the user of the last watch shown. I am not surprised of the condition of the dial and hands. My Seiko's hands loom. It's still white and dial are still mint. I always kept my Seiko away from water and always took off the watch when doing physical work. I am sure the user of the last Seiko did the same thing. Very few can be a one watch person for multiple decades. I look forward to see the service of the last watch shown.
Yep, it's. I mean, I'm really good at making up stories about, you know, the potential history of this, that, or the other thing, and I'm often wrong if I ever find out the truth. But the watches that I've seen in my life, and the thing I can make I can surmise, I can make a good educated guess that that's the deal, because the watch was never beaten up, it was never abused. He clearly had it serviced. That's one thing I know. Despite the lack of servicing marks, it absolutely got serviced. At least it got a new crystal, because the finger cutout for removing the bezel was slightly off. It should have been right at 9. They always are. They're right at 9. And it was off slightly, which means somebody had pulled it and then put it back on. Somebody loved this watch. They took care of it. The fact that the tip of the main sweep is unfaded means that they weren't outside, or they kept it under a long sleeve the whole time. Because I mean, Ethiopia, I mean, the sun is gonna fade stuff, and this sweep almost looks mint. It's basically untouched. Somebody loved this watch. They took care of it. They didn't beat it up, and they saw to it that it was maintained. So I'm glad to have it here for that reason.
Okay, and this last one has nothing to do with watches.
Really?
Yeah, you know what it is.
Oh, yes, I do, actually. Okay, I should preface this. I was telling a story about my barber who, he was cutting my hair, and we started talking about Vietnam watches and stuff, and he said that he was in Vietnam, that he had joined, and he was in like some of the last people in Vietnam in like 75, going up and down the river gathering intelligence. And he told me some other things. I just made this as an offhand comment, and this person responded.
Hans Moleman, your barber was in the Phoenix program? Sheesh, no offense, but he did some unbelievably, irredeemably evil stuff. Like, I'd want to ask him tons of questions and pretend to be a friendly, interested listener. And then after I gleaned all the stories I'd call him a baby killer to his face and never go to him again. Sorry for the rant. If he is who he says he is and was involved in military intelligence in late Vietnam, woof. Phoenix program is as evil as it gets. Say those words to him and see what kind of look he gives you. Anyway, love the watch content. Sorry for the political interlude. I don't consider that political. Political to me is modern, current stuff, which is strictly forbidden and ignored. This is historical.
It is historical. You know, I don't know. I can't speak for the guy. My impression, he's a regular dude. He seems pretty chill. He is former law enforcement as well. He was a sheriff in New York, and
he was a state trooper.
Oh, he was a state trooper in New York, but he has his uniform up and everything. So there's that, and he has his BDUs on the wall as well. But all of the insignia has been removed. I don't know. I have no idea. I've never heard of Phoenix Squadron or whatever. I went and read about them and what they did. That's some gnarly stuff. He said he joined up in like 75, and he went over there. He went in country. Some of the last people there, he said, in order to join the unit that he was in, you couldn't have any identifying marks, no tattoos, that their gear that they were issued was generic, basically. And he said, what other thing he said? He said, well, there's still some stuff from back then that I can't talk about. He said, I know some other people who were, in other sort of, more restricted branches and ranks. And he said, there's one guy I know, and I'll talk to him about some things. But he said, so I don't know.
That's not cool, man.
So, I mean, it's just crazy because the dude doesn't look that old to me. He's 68, but he's kind of taking care of himself. I don't know. It's trippy. I don't know what to think about it. But, I have this new watch that came in the new watch lot. It's a 1974 issued U.S. military, Hamilton produced, I believe, GG-W-113 watch. I'll bring it in and I'll show, because we were talking about watches. I'll bring it in and I'll show it to him and see if I can get him to start talking. Mm-hmm. and then maybe we'll know more.
Well, you have to make sure you go without Sebastian again, because otherwise Sebastian will be talking about the Titanic the whole time.
Oh my God.
Just to kind of skip back to the beginning.
The whole time, Sebastian and I get our haircut together. And so Sebastian likes it when I go first. So I went and I got my haircut. And then I was sitting waiting for Sebastian to get his haircut. And the entire time, literally the entire time he was getting a haircut, he was giving me an absolute info dump about puppy playtime. And it went on and on. And he never stopped speaking. He never stopped talking
No,
the
he
entire
doesn't.
time.
One time I walked the dog with him, and I counted in my head how long he was quiet for, and the longest was 6 seconds.
Well, he's a good kid, and we look to our blessings because we have him.
But he's baby Colin Robinson.
In a way, he's certainly interesting. Oh, I couldn't believe he couldn't watch that Titanic video. It was fascinating. I was glued to the screen. I couldn't believe it. And Sebastian was like, how long is this video?
He has to have multiple things going on at once, so then he can turn his attention to the other thing and then turn back to what he's doing and then go to the third thing. And I think that your video was the only thing on at the time.
Yeah, you know what it's like? It's like when Homer sat down to watch football and he was surrounded with all of his snacks, right? Mm-hmm. And he's eating all the different snacks like this very quickly. Sebastian's like that, but with mental stimulation and entertainment.
Yes.
Okay. Well, folks, that's it. We're gonna probably go inside, and I'm gonna make some hot tea, and we're gonna go from there. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side. Bye.